This is going to be cool. Please welcome the fabulous voice of the Detroit Lions, the man who proclaims touchdown Detroit Lions every chance he gets, and I love it, Dan the Man Miller. He joins us right now. Dan, how are you, my friend? Great to
I'm
have you.
doing well. What's up, guys? How are you?
We're good, man. Thanks for coming on this morning. How'd you get into doing play-by-play, man? What got you started, and
Oh, man.
who were your heroes that told you, that inspired you to get into this?
That's a long time ago. You know what? I first started doing play-by-play in college, working for the college radio station, doing some of the games that went to George Mason University, started doing some of the games there. And my old high school was a basketball power at the time, and they started broadcasting some of their games. And my old coach, who was still the coach there, let me do some of those because he knew that's what I wanted to do. So that kind of got me started. And then I did, once I graduated from George Mason, I did their games for 4 years. And that got me going, and kind of translated over into football, went and did NFL Europe, and came back from there and started doing some NFL on Fox. And that kind of led to the Lions, and off you went. It's, there's no set way that anybody ever gets into this. It's more just, man, just find a door that's open that far and then try to kick it in. And that was lucky enough to happen for me, and just a bunch of different experiences that led into this. Look, I've had so many people that have impacted my career, from James Brown to listening to Pat Summerall growing up, to Frank Herzog, who was the voice of my youth doing the Commanders games, Redskins back then. So I could go on, and people I've worked with and that have impacted me. Tony Roberts, the longtime voice of Notre Dame football. Joel Myers, who's still doing New Orleans in the NBA, and I got a chance to work with him early in his career and just learn from all these guys and watch them work. And I got to produce games when I was in my early 20s for Harry Callis and Chuck Thompson, two Hall of Famers. And, it's just really watching them and how they did their job. And I think all of us take a little something from everybody that touches us along the way and that we get to see and watch. And certainly I think in terms of play-by-play, those are the guys that I watched and that I grabbed a little bit from here and there.
In that division, I still call it the Central Division, Detroit, Green Bay, Chicago, Minnesota. In that division, I too pull a little something from everybody, from you, from Paul Allen. Pull something from you, pull something from Paul Allen, Jeff Joniak from the Bears, and Wayne Larrabee from the Packers. And it's so much fun listening to you guys each and every week, because when you follow one team, you're that voice. You are their voice. You are the eyes and the ears for that team to the fans, especially doing radio play-by-play, as I've done for the past 28 years for high school and college sports. When you're the eyes and the ears of that team, how important is it, Dan, to bring the action to those who cannot make it to the stadium?
Oh, I think it's huge. That's your job. And I should throw in, love all those guys in our division, all friends, all good guys. And I produced a Rose Bowl for Wayne Larrabee in 1987.
Nice.
That he did for Mutual Radio / Westwood One. And I remind him of that. And he's like, "You're kidding me." I'm like, "No, that was me." And I just remember being taken aback by how professional he was. And when you want to get into it, you just sit and you watch those guys and you watch them move. And even before I was producing or doing anything, I was 18, 19 years old, going to games, getting post-game sound, and I would watch the play-by-play guys walk in, and to me it was like they floated across the room and went into the booth or wherever they went, and I just thought, man, one day I hope to go in there. But to your question, yeah, look, that's your job. Your job is to paint the picture for whether somebody's watching and at the game or watching and they turn down the TV sound and turn us up, or they're driving, or they're in their garage, or they're in their kitchen, or whatever it is. We want to bring exactly what's happening to them, the excitement, set the stage, make sure they can see the picture in their mind. And that's really what you're doing more than anything else, is you're trying to allow them to be able to picture what's happening. Because I think ultimately that's what we do when we listen to the radio, is we're kind of listening to the description, and in our mind, because we've seen so much of it, we can imagine what it looks like. If it's, J-Mo running down the sidelines, or Amon-Ra making a tough catch over the middle, or whatever it is, you see it. But it's up to us to make sure that people can see it.
A couple years ago, when the Lions won on a walk-off touchdown from Goff to Amon-Ra St. Brown, the bench went crazy. You went crazy. I have that clip, and I listen to it a lot, and I love the way that you work Detroit Lions games. Did that game in your mind, that walk-off win, signal a turnaround in your mind for the Lions to get to where they are now?
I think it signaled a release because they hadn't won a game yet under Dan Campbell. They'd had this weird tie against Pittsburgh that nobody knew what to do with. And It was like after the game, we're all like, well, they didn't lose. So what's that mean? So it was kind of this weird, was it an accomplishment or was it not an accomplishment? It was kind of an ugly game. So it wasn't even one, excuse me, that you would jump up and down about. But once they won that game, that was a big deal. And that was also a very emotional week in our area, because it was the week of the Oxford High School mass shooting.
Right.
And the Lions had that block O on the back of their helmets. So I think that we were all just hypersensitive to everything that week, because that was, that was our people. That was our community. And so I think everything added up to making that moment one that we all felt deeply, because we were thrilled for the players and the coaches, and just also still carrying in all of our hearts, as they wore on their helmets, what had happened earlier that week. So that was a memorable week for a lot of reasons, and many different emotions that go into those memories.
Speaking of memories and emotions, let's go back to the NFC Championship game. You were there at Levi's Stadium, Lions and 49ers. So many Lions fans that were at Ford Field watching the game, and you were there calling that game. When you got to Levi's Stadium, what was that like, knowing you were calling the NFC Championship game for your Detroit Lions?
Well, I got there at 6:30 in the morning Pacific time, because we had to do a pregame show. So what it was like at that point was dark with the sun coming up, and we were tired. But look, when that game kicks off, you realize this is something special happening here. And we hadn't been there during my time broadcasting the Lions. They had been there in 91 when they played Washington. But look, we had come off 2 incredible weeks. The Rams game was an atmosphere like I've never seen. Just the city of Detroit, electric, anticipating something they hadn't been able to enjoy in decades, which was a home playoff game. Then to win that game was something they hadn't done since 91, which was in and of itself amazing. And then, just knowing what's on the line, and knowing that you have a chance to advance to the Super Bowl, something this franchise had never done. And I will say this, it is kind of, the way it works is you feel all that, and then the game starts, and the game is the thing. And you understand that there's this thing hanging out there that's going to go to the winner of this game. But once you get going, it's still okay. You need to convert this third down. You need to get a third down stop to get off the field. And all those things become important. And so it was a great experience, certainly one that I hope to have again sooner, if not later. But, you came up 30 minutes short. And that's what I think most people remember about that game is
Right.
such a fantastic start to be up 24-7 at the half. And then really uncharacteristic mistakes for them in the second half, the kind of mistakes that they
Right.
really hadn't made for much of the season. And that's what ultimately cost them. But credit San Francisco, they took advantage of every mistake that the Lions made. And I think there's a cautionary tale in there for a team that you got to be ready to play 60 because 30 won't get it done. And that's ultimately what happened to them. So it was disappointing, but that team accomplished so much and set the table for so much going forward. They still have to accomplish that and execute that. But it was a really fantastic day, a very hollow feeling flying home on that plane. But I think also, as I looked at it and kind of tried to run it in my mind on that plane, the one thing that I thought about coming home was, and this team's got something set up. This wasn't a one-time thing. This team's got the ability with the young talent they have, the developing players they have, to be back here. And you have to earn that. Nobody gives you anything. And that's one of the daunting things about it is, man, you got to start all over again next year and do it all again. But a lot of mixed emotions on that day for sure.
How about this Lions team off to the roaring start that they are one of the best teams in the league, certainly the best team in the NFC. From my standpoint, and I look at it not only as a fan but also a journalist and a play-by-play announcer, you see the growth in this team and you see the chip on their shoulder that they have come out with at the start of this season. Coming into this season, you've had a chance to see their practices and go to their team meetings and listen to everything that the coaches say. And then, as you said, and it's very true, the ball kicks off. When did you see that extra oomph in the Lions this year that gives you a clue of, hey, they may finish the job this year, but we got to get there first? It's a different Detroit Lions team this year, is it not?
Yeah, I always thought they were really good. I mean, I came into the season thinking that, and knowing that they had gone out in the offseason and picked up DJ Reader, had a rookie cornerback in Terrion Arnold that was going to play, and he's had his rough patches, but he's gotten better. But they added to the mix, bringing in a Pro Bowl guard and Zeitler, and seeing that Jameer was a year older and Amon-Ra was a year older and Panay was a year older. And these guys are just getting better all the time. And Kirby, and I could keep going because there's so much young talent in this team. Jack Campbell, Aleem McNeil, Hutch before he got hurt. I certainly thought this was going to be a really good team. And I would say probably what jumped out at me was, look, beating the Rams to start the season was huge under bright lights on a Sunday night, and a team that certainly wanted to come back in and exact some revenge for knocking them out of the playoffs last year. But I think when we went through that 5-game stretch where we were on the road for 4 out of 5, we had to go to Dallas, to Minnesota, back home for Tennessee, Green Bay, and Houston. You looked at that 4 out of 5 on the road and the 4 toughest games on the road, and you thought, man, they can get out of there 4-1. That's something else. 3-2 would be acceptable. And they go 5-0. And
Right.
they really looked good in doing it. And picking up 2 road wins in the NFC North. I think that's where you kind of said, okay, here we go. But it's still every week. It is still the fact that you have to go out there and do this every week. And, even going into last week's game, I saw the talent on Jacksonville, and I knew that if you don't go out there and play well and take care of the football and do all the things that you have to do to win, you can lose that game. They'd just taken Minnesota down to the final possession. So it's still every week. This team's really good. This team is really good and capable of winning a Super Bowl. But you have to go out and earn it and do it and play the right way and all those things. Because us sitting here now and saying it doesn't really, mean anything. It's what you do the rest of the way to win the division and get a home game. Because, man, I'd much rather play Philadelphia in Detroit than I would have to go to Philadelphia and play them.
Right.
So there's so much that has to be earned and so much that has to be done. But make no mistake about it, they're good enough to do anything this season, up to and including winning the Super Bowl. But if you don't play the right way. If you play the way you played in the second half against San Francisco last year, you're not going to do it because somebody's going to beat you. And that's the lesson I think they learned.
What's the final thing before we let you go? What is your preparation like each week? Because when I covered Trinity International in Deerfield, Illinois, and me covering the high schools that I've done up to this point, is there a set pattern that you have? Like Monday, I go get sound bites. Tuesday, I start doing my boards. Wednesday, I start prepping for my pregame show with interviews and things like that. Is there a set pattern that you have?
There is, and it's one of the things that I love about the NFL is that for the most part, and this year we've got a lot of Monday, Thursday, crazy type games.
Right.
But there definitely is. I mean, there's a rhythm to it, and I think that's what allows you to keep your sanity. Because I have the Lions job, and then I'm the sports director at the Fox station in Detroit. So I'm kind of, working two jobs, which no complaints, wouldn't do it any other way. But
Exactly.
yeah, I think, Monday you're kind of turning the page from the day before. Tuesday, I take my coach's scouting report with him that runs on our TV show on Sunday morning. Wednesday, boards are done by then, and I start putting notes on there. Thursday, I'm wrapping those up and pretty much have everything down that I need to have. Friday, I watch tape, mostly the other team. I'd say 99% the other team because I've seen so much of the Lions, but it allows you to A, get their numbers down, B, see any formations that they have that might seem a little bit funky that you don't want to just be, tripping over when they show them to you the next week. And, by the time Saturday rolls around, pretty much done. Maybe going back over a little bit of things here and there, but it's really just a rhythm of boards, notes, tape on the other team. And the good thing about doing one team all the time is you're living your preparation. It's not like I have to sit down and learn the Lions. I'm doing it every day by going to, meet with players, meet with coaches, whatever practices I go to, all the previous games that you've been to. It's, I'll say this, I did games for Fox for 5 years. And when you are sent to Arizona to do Arizona, Seattle, man, that's hours and hours and hours, 15, 20 hours of prepping just to get ready to know those teams, because the challenge is always you're broadcasting at a minimum to two cities in Arizona and Seattle that know those teams backwards and forwards. And they can't wait for you to say, this Joe Smith has really had a nice year. And they're sitting home going, no, he has not. He missed 7 tackles last year. You have no idea what you're talking about. So that was really a challenge. I mean, so it's the one thing you find when you're doing one team is 90+% of what you say has to do with that team. If something good happens, why did it happen good for the Lions? If something bad happens, why did it happen bad for the Lions? You're obviously doing the other team as well and telling people what's happening with the other team as you call the game. But it almost always comes back to how does it relate to Detroit? And that I think narrows your scope a little bit along the way.
Troy has a question for you.
So with the last, 3-4 years of draft picks, picking up guys like Sam Laporta on offense, Amon-Ra, you also got Jameson Williams on the wide receiver core, and then picking up guys in the trade deadline like Zadarius Smith, especially with Hutchdown. What, with the front room of the Lions rebuilding this team piece by piece, including getting Jared Goff from the Rams, what specific trade or draft do you think was the key turning point for the Lions to be the team that they are now?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I mean, look, I think all of it has added up to, this team being what they are. And it's the draft, but it's also the way this coaching staff develops the players. Because we always drafted players before this regime came in, but many of them never got to second contracts because they, didn't reach their maximum potential. Now this team is giving out hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to guys to keep them here, from Panay to Amon-Ra to Aleem and on down the line. I'll say a couple things. One, obviously getting Goff was huge. And a lot of people didn't think that he'd be the guy that he is. But I think some of the guys that made that trade Brad Holmes and Ray Agnew, who were in LA with him, thought he could be the guy, and he's turned out to be the guy. So that obviously is massive. That was always going to be the best case scenario when they made that trade, and a lot of people thought, oh, he's just here until they draft a young quarterback. The best case scenario was always that Jared became the guy, and you use those draft picks for something else. Many of the guys that you just named. I think you set some cornerstones in that first draft when you got Panay and Amon-Ra and Aleem. I mean, that was just massive to be able to get guys like that. I hope I'm not conflating my drafts there, but I just think when you get guys on each side of the line and then just a force multiplier, leader, lead by example guy, lead verbal guy, like Amon-Ra, who is just everything you could want in a player and a teammate. You're setting yourself on a good course. And then, having the breaks to get Hutch the next year, and, nothing against Trayvon Walker, but Hutch was perfect for us for a lot of reasons. Not just where he's from, but his ability and the way that he sets the tone for other players. So it's really been all those drafts that have added up to it. But certainly that first one did not hurt because you got some big time guys in that draft that are mainstays on this team, and Panay's tracking to go to the Hall of Fame, and I'm not going to sell Amon-Ra short for anything because that dude just keeps on putting up numbers every single week. So having guys like that, pretty good place to start.
Right.
Dan Miller, the man, the voice of the Detroit Lions, joining us here this morning. A little bit of mic to kick off the second hour of Snowman in the Morning. Dan, we appreciate you very much. We love you. Thank you for your time. And I will continue to be a fan of listening to you call Lions games, my friend. Thank you very much for stopping by. We appreciate it.
You're very kind. Appreciate the very kind words. And thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
How's that to kick off the second half of the show?
I'm all about that.
Oh my!
That was cool.
Was that not fun?
That was cool right there.
All the right questions.
Say again.
That's asking all the right questions.
Well, yeah. I mean, we've all done this before, and I had a chance yesterday to talk with Dave Sims. And I'll say this: whether an interview is 5 minutes or 20 minutes, when you get professionals like that, and they are so kind to stop by, you appreciate the time that they're there.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like I said, I had an interview with Dave Sims yesterday. It was about 5 to 6 minutes because he had to run. But when he popped in and said, sorry, I'm late. And I know it's been a whirlwind for him. After leaving Seattle, after 18 years, coming back home to be the play-by-play radio voice of the New York Yankees.
Yeah.
It's going to be crazy. And Dave, I love you, brother. Thanks for stopping by yesterday. I totally appreciate it.
And like I said in the group chat, the funny thing is we were talking about Dave, so far this week. Mm-hmm. And I'm flipping around on YouTube trying to, find something to watch to kick back. One of the first things that came up was Dave's best calls in Seattle.
Yes.
I was like, well, that's just fitting.
And then also it was like the whole idea of bringing Dan Miller on came in a VC with one of my good friends, Everett Trua, who's a lifelong Lions fan, been a Lions fan for God knows how long. And she was just talking about the Lions. I was like, I might hit up Dan Miller and see, if he'd be interested in having an interview.
Yep.
This whole interview, the start of the second hour is surreal. And thank you, Mr. Miller, for coming on to the show today and sharing your experiences with the Lions, how you see the Lions team and all that. The rest of the second hour.
One of my goals is?
What's that?
One of my goals. I have Wayne Larrivee. I've had Dan Miller. I want to get Paul Allen on here.
Yes.
I want to get the legendary Paul Allen here. I I want to get him on the show. We talked about, excuse me, we talked about Dave Sims and some of his great calls. Well, guess what? A little bit of live research, and I got one that baseball folks will remember forever. Dave, take it away.
It's folks out here at the ballpark. 3-2 to Cal. The pitch from Acevedo. A drive deep to right field. Down the line. The Mariners win this game 2-1. The dream lives. They're going to the playoffs. The drought is over. Cal Raleigh. Wow. Hey now. Hey now. Hey now.
Are you kidding me, Cal Raleigh? He gets a slider and hits it off the windows out there for his 26th home run of the year. That's right. The party is going on. Congratulations to the Mariners. A long season gets paid off with a trip to the postseason.
That is beautiful. Mariners clinch the wild card.
A pinch hit home run by Cal Raleigh. He has been so big for this club in the second half. 2 outs and a home run to send them to the postseason.
On a 3-2 pitch, it doesn't get any better.
A 3-2 slider.
Amen, brother.
Yep.
I got a call.
Dave Sims, baby. Oh, there's more. Here's the radio voice, Rick Riz. How about a bonus?
Had to battle through some big injuries. A winning record in June, July,
the
August,
voice you're hearing now is that of Rick Riz, the radio
Mariners
voice
knocking on
of
the
the
door to
Seattle
a playoff
Mariners,
appearance
one
for
of
the
Dave's
first
best
time
friends.
since 2001. Here's the stretch. The 3-2 pitch, swinging a drive, deep to right field. Stay fair. Holy smokes, he did it. Off the Hidden Air Cafe. Cal Raleigh with a walk-off home run. How sweet it is. The Mariners end the 20-year drought on a walk-off home run by Cal Raleigh. They win the ball game.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Are going to the playoffs as a playoff contender. They go to the playoffs as a wild card member. Cal Raleigh with his 26th home run of the year. 47,000 fans are going crazy here at T-Mobile Park. What a finish for the Mariners. Cal Raleigh on a 3-2 pitch. Long home run to right field by the Hidden Ear Cafe, and the magic carpet ride continues. This ball club has been amazing all season long. They never give up, and they're going to take us to the playoffs. The 20-year drought, forget about it. It is over.
Yeah, you know,
I got
and
one for y'all.
Courtesy,
before we head to
all
break.
that's. Let me throw some courtesy out here. All that is courtesy of the Seattle Mariners, Major League Baseball, KIRO for Rick Riz, and Root Sports Northwest. And Dave Sims, we love you. Thank you for stopping by. And there's one for Dan Miller that Droid has queued up for us. Let's take a look.
This is from the Lions-Rams wildcard game. This was the pivotal play where basically first down is the win. First down, first Detroit Lions playoff win in forever.
Works out of the gun, 2nd down and 9. 2 minutes to go. There's Goff back, looking, throws. It is caught. Amon-Ra St. Brown, first down. That's going to do it. That's going to do it. That's going to do it. Jared Goff delivers against his former team. Now all they have to do is take a knee 3 times, and this game will be over. For the 2nd time since 1957, for the first time since January 5th, 1992, these Detroit Lions are going to win a playoff game.
154. Thank you.
Damn. Oh, my God.
Detroit,
Oh, my
stand
God.
up. You've waited for this. One proud nation, stand up. You've waited for this.
30 some odd years. My goodness. My goodness.
Sheila Hamp,
Yes.
Rod Wood,
Yes.
Mike Disner,
Yes.
Chris Spielman,
Yes.
Brad Holmes,
Yes.
Dan Campbell.
Oh, my God.
They have brought it back to Detroit. They've given it to us.
Man,
Let's get in victory formation, boys. 1:54 to go. Clock will start on the snap. There's the snap. There's the knee. That's one. You stand up, Jared. Put those arms in the air. Put those arms in the air, 16.
Dang.
Jared Goff, 22 out of 27, 277 yards, a touchdown. Quarterback rating 121.8. That's a winning effort.
It
Clock
sure is.
moving down to 129. The Lions will milk it.
And just think, we've been carrying this round for 30-some years. We're about to get that proverbial monkey off our back.
Jared will wait to move in behind center until that clock goes all the way down. Play clock at 1, takes the snap, takes the knee. One more time. One more time, Jared. Oh, Ford Field, you are beautiful. 65,000 strong standing. One final time, Jared. One final time. Moves in behind center. Takes the snap. Takes the knee. This game is over. Oh, the Detroit Lions have won it. Celebrate, boys. Celebrate. You're coming right back here next week to take on the winner of the Philadelphia-Tampa Bay game. What a night. What a night.
Yep.
Oh, love it.
Call from the legendary Dan Miller. And again, thank you
Amazing.
for having. Thank you for being on the show today. That's credits to 97.1 The Ticket, the Big 1050 WTKA, and courteous of the NFL and all if it's